I want to talk about love and the missing 13. Love and the missing 13. Now, when you hear love in the context of a scenario to follow, first thing you're going to think is relationships. You're going to, like love and basketball, or Thor, Love and Thunder, or the reality TV show Love and Hip Hop. And overall, when the word love is placed out there, you're going to hear your internal mechanisms pointing towards coupling or towards a grouping of some sort, some kind of connection from one person to another. Love and this and that, which is really saying relationships and this and that. In this instance, though, it's different when I'm talking about love and the missing 13, because I'm not talking about a traditional relationship when I use the word love. When I use the word love in this context, we're not talking about relationships. We're not talking about eros. We're not talking about agape either. Neither one of those. But we're talking about love as an expression of passion, drive, determination, ambition pertaining to somebody's goals. Using love like an adjective, like something you're bringing to it. So this is not to say you love someone else, but you love what you do. That's how we're using love here in Love and the Missing 13. So if we're pointing away from relationship, then we're pointing again to this individuality that seems to lurk at the periphery of this particular eon that we're in. However Aquarian we may attribute it to be, overall as an age, as an eon, as a time, you can see that we're between the two, or in older language we would say betwixt. We're in between a time to build alliances and a time of individuality. Now, if these things are going to exist in the same space, then we have to consider that one is going to come before the other. And typically this is, if we're talking about rebuilding, you're not going to be thinking alliance and then individuality, which is to say out of many came one, but you're going to be thinking more so out of one came many. You usually hear it that way, where there's a founder, there's a leader, there's an inventor who starts a particular company or industry or ordeal off, and it's them, first the legend and then the legacy. First the legend and then the legacy. This is to be considered if we're talking about love in the context of passion for one's goals. And it's almost similar to if we were looking at love through a purely reproductive lens. Before the legend comes the legacy. Before the children come the parents. Love and the missing 13. So we have love. We know that now it's aimed vocationally. So now we're talking about drive. And we're really talking about the force of will, the force of will, love, the drive, the vigor, the veracity. Now, the missing 13. See, 13 is an interesting number. It was always connotated with bad luck. But it's a powerful number that really suggests a stepping beyond the 12. You'll either step beyond the 12 and 13 energy, or you'll be the one to start your own 12. 12 being the number of authority. The one who is the 13 is really the one who starts the 12. So you have 13. So out of any idea to be a 13 energy, there's going to be this oneness that brings you beyond the 12. Because we're talking about love in the missing 13. The missing individual thought. The missing uniqueness. In some industries, it's the missing creativity. 13 is the number of cutting edge. If you're thinking 12 disciples, then Jesus is the 13th man. If you're thinking, 12 figureheads over Israel, then Jehovah was the 13th. Right? Even in earlier astrological or in sidereal, if you're thinking 13, you're adding Ophiuchus in there during Scorpio season or wherever it falls. The 13 is a prime number, I believe. I could be wrong on the prime number part, but it's definitely an odd number, and it's not a double like 11. 13 is not letting you know about a gate. The number 13 doesn't present a gate. It presents you with the other side to the gate. What is the coupling of the gate? See, 13 is a coupling number. It just extends beyond the 12. So the bonding, the coupling is not with your general sense of authority or whatever the old regime or authority or order was. 13 is all about pressing into a new energy. And this is why they put Pisces at the end of all signs, where you're jumping into mystery at the very, very bottom. The very bottom of the night seasons. What the scriptures say. In the night seasons, my heart instructs me. The heart, the subconscious mind, is at its prime from November to the end of March, however long winter lasts. That's the symbology. It's cold, nothing's growing on the surface. People are indoors, closed in. Any animals that typically scamper, they have burrowed. Any animals that typically fly around, they have nested. 13 energy. Love and the missing 13. So this missing 13 energy, not only is it manifested in not the silencing, but maybe in the lessened availability of people working under 13 energy as content creators. You don't see them making appearances as often. And without drawing any conclusions to that, you could say that that's also a realm of missing 13. Because without these outliers showing up, in your search, you could be left with a whole feed of one story. What if you're only subscribed to maybe 10, 13 energy people who teach different things, talk about different things in different ways, and they seem to be doing opposite of what the pack is doing? If they're out of the way, if they were to go missing, run into anything that they run into in the real world, take a hiatus, take a sabbatical for any reason, if they do any of that, you might be left with a whole timeline of Diddy, with a whole timeline of the war, Israel, you might be hit with an entire timeline, because a lot of Love and the Missing 13, a lot of it takes on an edge of journalism. But where are we journaling from? That's the other side of journalism. Being a journalist doesn't mean you have to report the news. We just see journalists under the auspices of news coverage. But when they say things like keep a journal, you're not writing about the news story. It's more like a diary, like a chronicling. So you have your choice of what history to highlight. You don't have to highlight the history that everyone else does. But based on how you highlight what you highlight, you can be a part of the missing 13. So how do we get this 13 back? Start being creative. Start resisting the urge to chase clout. If you see something, you like something, you want to piggyback on, put the idea out there through your own content creation. And don't try to appear like a bottom feeder, because this shows a lack of 13 energy, which will subsequently chew away from your love. Super T Sigma, Sigma Programming. Stay illuminated, people. Peace.